Morning, everyone. Myself Ravi, and have been like taking sessions for Digital Link for almost 5 years right now. I'm completely into cloud domain and DevOps. My mainstream is DevOps, so I have like a lot of expertise with DevOps tools, especially on Docker, Kubernetes, Ansible, and all this particular infrastructure. I'm setting it up on AWS. So already I'm AWS certified as well, and I'll tell you today like what is the scope of AWS and what are all the services that you can see as a part of AWS course and how it might help you in your career. Or let's say if you're already upskilling, you can go ahead with this part. Or let's say you're just a graduate out of the college. So in that particular scenario, how you can use AWS for your, job purpose, right? And this course is mostly towards, guys, upskilling and also people who wants to enter into the cloud domain as an initial part. So already AWS has given you a roadmap. So anyone who wants to get into the AWS domain, right? So they have given you one specific roadmap to go with. Like, okay, first you need to complete this step, then go ahead with this step. So there are 3 different levels. One is called as practitioner, then you got associate level, then you got specialist and professional, right? There are different levels to go with. So where you guys are going to sit right now is called as associate level. It's not, a complete advanced part, are not an intermediate thing. So it is in between the part there, right? So people who wants to make sure that at least you want to keep 1 to 2 years of experience, right? Working as a cloud architect, or let's say you want to showcase some DevOps tools experience, then this particular combination of courses are the best thing you can go with, right? And I'll tell you like, basically once we complete the course, how you can showcase yourself that you had a actual kind of experience with the AWS and DevOps parts. Like you can say at least 1 to 2 years of experience with respect to hands-on parts, right? Okay. Now, first, before we get into the part, so I'm hoping like, I'm considering that everyone is fresher to this particular domain right now. So I'm going to just give you the things from the base first. So what happens, like how the things used to work before cloud, why cloud came into the picture, and what are the roles and responsibilities as a cloud architect you need to go ahead with. Right, so I'll discuss on that particular part, and then I'll tell you in case you guys are looking for certification, so how you can start going through that particular preparation part. And also from the hands-on perspective, like I said already, we will have one end-to-end projects where whatever we are learning on this particular curriculum part, right, you will be able to implement it on the hands-on part as well. Right. Okay. So before we get started into this AWS specific, right, let's keep the discussion with respect to generic part. So AWS is one of the cloud vendor, correct? There are so many other cloud vendors in the market. We got Azure, Google Cloud, right? We got Alibaba, and there are like a lot of other things, DigitalOcean, a lot of things are also coming up. So how AWS is different from others, and also in a generic point of view, what is cloud in the first place? Why companies wants to move their infrastructure to cloud? We'll discuss all these particular concepts first, right? Okay. So before I go ahead and start doing the things like this, I hope like you had at least some small checkout, like at least you checked a couple of blogs, or maybe you went through some YouTube videos, like what is cloud in the first place, right? Okay. So here, you see guys. So this definition is a perfect thing that you can get understanding of what is cloud in the first place. You see, cloud computing, right? It is on-demand availability. Okay, see the word. This word is what we are, looking for right now. So imagine there is one specific XYZ organization. This organization right now, they have some application with them. Let's take an example of let's take an Indian example. Yes, Indian app example. Let's say we got something like right. So this particular app, right, Hotstar, it's a media streaming based application, correct? So this particular site, we are going ahead and seeing all the series, movies, and all this particular content, correct? So whenever I load this particular site, as soon as I requested this particular site, there you see guys, we are getting all this particular content loading up, right? Now, If I'm seeing this content, it means it needs to be placed somewhere, correct? Meaning what? Storage is required if I want to keep all these particular videos. And you see, whenever I'm going and giving some particular request, you see it is showing me some menus and all this part, right? Meaning what? Someone needs to develop this application in order to get this interface and everything, correct? Now, in order to go ahead and start running this application, we need a server. Earlier, this entire application was hosted on something called like physical data centers. Now, in case you're not aware of physical data center, very simple is, exactly. So you can say this is a typical data center. So like this, you used to have tons and tons of racks. In those particular racks, what you used to keep is all your devices, your CPU, RAM, storage, network. You used to go ahead and keep all your components over here. So earlier, who used to manage these components is a question. So someone needs to take care of all these things, right? Meaning there should be an uninterrupted power supply, right? Make sure that climate is under control. So this needs to be always between 80 to 20 degrees temperature there, right? And always make sure the networking is working up. So all the cables needs to be properly laid out, right? Physically, someone needs to secure this particular place as well. So earlier, this entire part was taken care by the company who is hosting those things. So Hotstar as an application, they have their own data centers. And in that particular data centers, we had all these particular components. Now, imagine Hotstar is in its initial stage of introductory launch. At that point of time, their data center is very small. Imagine that right now, Hotstar hardly has some 50,000 customers, meaning like clients who are accessing their content. Now for 50,000 clients, what? They had a very small scale data center. They had, let's say, some 3 to 4 racks. In these racks, they had all the hardware capacity to go with. Imagine now, this particular company is having, instead of 50,000 customers, let's say it has been 1 year. In this 1 year, their client base increased a lot. So now from 50,000 customers, they have, let's say, 50 lakh customers. Now this transition happened just in 1 year. So earlier, they were having just like 50,000 customers. Just in a span of 1 year past, they're having 50 lakh customers, and in the future it is expected to be much more higher in the parts. Now earlier, this data center which they had, right, it was capable of supporting maybe up to 5 lakhs. Now as your customer base is increasing, right, what I need to do again, I need to make sure my data center capacity is matched to my client capacity, meaning I need to go ahead and again purchase new hardware. Again, I need to purchase new cabling. Again, I need to purchase new infrastructure, basically, correct? And as this demand keeps on going up, right? So the burden on the client side is going to be at the higher side. So he needs to have a lot of burden to manage all these particular things. Now, companies which are not able to manage it and they are paying a lot of cost on the infrastructure, what they thought is, okay, it's better we move to some other model. Rather than we going and managing the entire infrastructure, we want to rent it out. Where you are going to rent it from? The people who are providing that particular infrastructure. Now that's where cloud vendors comes into the picture. AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, these are all cloud vendors. And what they are saying is, say, on demand basis. So when you need some particular capacity of hardware, so on demand basis, we are going to give you what? Computer system resources, which includes your storage, compute power, without active management by the end user. So they are saying, okay, you need infrastructure, right? We already have with us. You just go ahead and rent it. And what they are saying, as you are renting that particular infrastructure, right? You don't need to worry about any active management, meaning you don't worry about physically securing this place. You don't worry about cabling part. You don't worry about going and asking the system administrators to set up the entire thing. You don't worry about going ahead and controlling the climate part. So we will take care of all those things. Getting the point is, so just imagine the same example with respect to your e-commerce applications. So before Flipkart or Amazon, right? If you want to purchase or if you want to check out some specific good, you need to go to different places. Let's imagine that 10 years back, I want to purchase some specific laptop. Then I need to go to different places, right? I need to check out the specification. I need to see how it works, physically going to the place. That was all the hectic work. But now, fast forward 10 years, we no longer need to go and check all those things. I'll just log in into Amazon or Flipkart and I'll just check the specification. If I like it, I'll order it and I'll use. If I don't like it, I'll just give it back. Correct? Exactly same way. In cloud, what they're trying to say is, whatever the applications which you hosted, those applications infrastructure, meaning that CPU, RAM, network, whatever the capacity you had, right? So that was controlled by some companies like Hotstar itself. Now what they're trying to do is, we are no longer able to take that burden and we want to offload that work to someone else. And the ones who wants to take this burden, right? Those are basically cloud vendors. And currently in the market, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud is the topmost vendors in the this particular domain. Now what they are saying in the first place is, okay, this part we manage, you manage the application on top of it. Getting the point is, so they are saying this particular infrastructure we are seeing, right? Okay, they are saying take this part. So all this infrastructure, they are saying we will give it. Who? Like whatever the cloud vendor you are going with. So imagine right now you are looking for AWS, right? So this entire thing physically we cannot see. This entire thing is under AWS control, right? Now, like how our Amazon.in works, exactly same thing. You just go to their particular site and you order what you want. We cannot physically see and all that part, but we know it exists in some particular, some warehouse. As we order, we start getting those particular delivered, right? Like those particular products that you went with. Exactly same way, AWS has their own specific console to give the request as a customer. Let me show you. See right now. Maybe I want to just I'll just check out and I'll make sure what capacity I need. And then just I'll see the CPU type and everything. Then I'll figure out what I need. So I think like this is looking good for me. So I'll just go ahead and I'll start ordering it. But do you think like it physically exists within our premises? No. So it's somewhere in the warehouse. We are just requesting it and it will be delivered for us, right? Exactly same way. Now, for my particular application, which application? For my Hotstar application. So right now, I want my Hotstar application to be deployed over here in one of their data centers. So this rack, I want this. Getting the point? So this particular part of the infrastructure, I might need for my use case. Now I want the exact same thing to be done. So I want to give a request where this hardware should be allocated for my particular application. In that particular scenario, same way, AWS has also given you the same thing. You'll go to their particular console, like how you log in into your Flipkart or Amazon.in site, right? Exactly same way, I might log in there. Once I log in, then I can start giving the requests. I'll show you. So exactly same way, you see guys, you got a search part like amazon.in, and also you got category of services that you can look out for. Are you getting the point there? So exactly like how this particular site which I showed you earlier, right? You see, I can go to all these particular categories and I can see all the list of things that are available. It's a little bit slow. You see, it's like how I got all this particular category of services. Exactly same way in the cloud also, they have given you different set of things for whom different types of workloads. You are doing machine learning, we got something. You are going and working with robotics, we got something. You are working with storage, we got few things. You are working with databases, we got something. Right? You are working with analytics, we got something for you. So like this, AWS is also giving you different types of products and services to work from the application point of view. So right now, what imagine for my particular application, like what do you say, Hotstar, I need maybe some 10 terabytes of storage. Getting the point is, in order to store the videos and everything. So obviously, if I want 10 terabytes of storage, the first thing is what, if I think from the physical point of view, I need to go ahead and order the devices. Once the devices comes in, then I need to mount them onto my systems. Then start doing what you say, formatting, partitioning, do all that work, right? Now the same thing, if I want to get it done from the AWS point of view, right? I'll just request AWS. Just as an example, I'll show you this. You see. So in terms of AWS, we have something called like volumes. Okay. Not sure network. You see guys, already some storage devices were purchased. Now I want to give the request to AWS saying, I want this much capacity of storage. No, I want 1 terabyte of storage, 1000 GB. When I go ahead and when I say create it, right? Behind the scenes, AWS will allocate a storage device for you over here. Are you getting the point? Is so right now I'll not go for 10 terabytes, but let's say I'll just keep it something like 100 gigabytes. And I'll say some name saying this is for my when I say create volume, it is literally that you purchased one hard drive from AWS. You didn't do anything on demand, like I said. So whenever on demand basis you want something, yes, that was created for you. That 100 GB storage with respect to the name called Hotstar videos is created, right? Meaning behind the scenes, that's your storage device. Now you can go ahead and start accessing it. Now, how do you pay for the device is the next thing. You see, now I only pay for what I am consuming. So I purchased 100 GB, right? Now I'll just pay for that 100 GB. Now in the future, you did some particular, what do you say, changes in the hardware capacity. Now you want to extend the device from 100 GB to 500 GB. So when I change it, right, then I'll get the additional cost. Now, one of the advantages of cloud is scalable storage. You see right now, earlier, what is the capacity? 100 GB. Imagine the same thing you want to do physically. I want to again go ahead and increase the capacity to 500 GB, right? Again, you need to place a new device hardware. Again, it needs to be shipped. Then you again go ahead and keep it in within your data center, connect the device, do the partitioning and all that, right? Here, I'll simply say, make it 200 GB. I given the request like this. Just give it some time and you see it is getting changed. And just like that, you see now the size is getting increased by itself. So now the advantage for me is on demand basis, whether I want to increase the capacity or decrease the capacity, it is completely in my hands. And that too within very, very minimal, like you see in seconds, I was able to do it. But if you want to do the same thing in physical point of view, right, it takes some time for you. So this kind of advantages give, easy to manage infrastructure. So I said earlier, the burden was what going and ordering new devices, placing these new devices is bit hectic work. Now all the things are removed once cloud came into existence. So how it works, that's what we are trying to understand as our course goes, right? So we want to understand all these particular things, how they work, how you can have your entire application deployed on the cloud is our main agent actually, right? So speaking from cloud point of view, simple, like I said, cloud is nothing but it is just on demand delivery. On demand, what you need for applications, whatever the infrastructure you need. And simply guys, what you need for an application at the end of the day, servers. And servers have capacity. What capacity? CPU, RAM, network, storage. So these things are already kept in some vendor and you are requesting that particular vendor. And now you need to understand how that vendor works. That is nothing but understanding a specific cloud domain. So either you want to go ahead and deploy your application on AWS, you learn AWS. You want to deploy it on Azure, you learn Azure. You deploy it on Google Cloud, you learn Google Cloud. That's what basically happens. Now here, like I said, cloud computing is a concept. In this, there are various roles. Right, guys? See, software development is a process. But in that, you got lots of roles. There will be a developer, there will be a system administrator, there will be a QA engineer, right? There will be, build and release engineers, support engineers, right? Exactly same way. In cloud computing concept, there are various roles. You got developer role, system admin role, you say architect role, network specialist, database specialist, machine learning specialist, big data specialist, like that. There are almost like 14 domains right now inside AWS. Getting the point is, in that, what we are trying to focus is called as architect. So what this role is about? Why? Because this is what the course you are going to, enroll right now. So what happens in this course? What are the roles and responsibilities of an AWS, architect when it comes to cloud computing domain? Getting the point is, so cloud computing is concept. In that, your role is going to be an architect role. So what happens here? Let's see. You see, guys. So the main goal of this particular person who is want to crack this certification or who wants to apply this role, right? So where you guys are going to be tested is, AWS Certified Solutions Architect is intended for individuals with experience in designing applications on AWS platform. See guys, earlier Hotstar application was there. It was managed by someone else in some data center. Now the goal is we want to design the exact same application within the constraints of AWS. Are you getting the point? Yes. So there was some application. Now that application, I want to keep it on AWS. And for that, you need to understand how AWS domain works. Simple. You see, you take this example. Okay, now let's take the same app from the physical infrastructure point of view. So if I want this application, what would be the major components? Right, I need storage, obviously the first thing. Don't I need servers? Don't I need databases to store the customer information? Don't I need network to go ahead and handle all the connections? Don't I need security? Like this, something else, etc. So these are the building blocks, correct? So for my data center, literally these are the building blocks. So my application is ready when I club all these resources together, meaning storage plus servers plus databases plus network plus security. So all these things together, they make up my application. Correct, guys? That's what is happening right now. So as I'm saying, this Hotstar application needs to be set up. So these are all the things I need to do it from my physical infrastructure. Now, this is what earlier it is there on your own data center. Fine, good. Let's imagine some XYZ corporation is handling this thing for you. Now the goal is we want the exact same thing to be what do you say, coming from AWS. Right, yes. Now I need the exact same thing. The same Hotstar application. So where we want to host this? Exactly on our AWS part. Now, obviously, what I need to know in order to host it on AWS, I need to know the exact same thing, how it works on AWS domain. For this, AWS, what they did is they have given you services. What services? You want to manage storage. AWS says, there is a service called S3 with us. Who is offering it? Amazon is offering it. They are saying Amazon S3, or its abbreviation is basically a simple storage service. This is a service offered by AWS, Amazon Web Services. You see what it is providing you, that provides some storage, object storage through web service interface. So they are saying, if you want to handle storage from AWS point of view, you need to understand a technology called as AWS S3. So now, whatever I did from the storage point of view, I want to create the storage device, increase its capacity, decrease its capacity, give access, delete, right? So all those options, if I want to do it from AWS point of view, it is called as S3. Getting the point is, so I'll keep this. Exactly same way, you want to go and handle servers capacity. So AWS says, there is a service called as Elastic Compute Cloud, and they are saying this is also part of your Amazon's cloud computing platform, which is given from AWS. What this service allows is, it allows the users to rent virtual computers on which you can start running your own computer applications. Getting the point is, now they are saying, if you want to have servers and server management within AWS, you need to understand there is something called like AWS EC2. Same way you want to manage databases from AWS point of view. So there's like this, what for everything there are services. How do I know? Why? Because I already experienced with this. This is what later you'll be getting once we are done with the patch. It says there is service called as relational database service. It's a distributed relational database service offered by AWS. So you want to go ahead and manage what you say database capacity within AWS, right? Yes, you go ahead and start working with something called as RDS. You want to manage network. There is something called like VPC. You want to manage security. There is something called like IAM. Like this exactly same way, you also have other services. This is what understanding the building blocks. Once you understood exactly same goal, guys, you club all the resources. You club all these resources together, and there you have your Hotstar application with you. Getting the point is, so whatever you try to implement on your physical data centers, and someone knows already about them. Exactly same way now we want to implement that on AWS. So you guys are supposed to understand how the bits and bolts of AWS works. And that is what exactly we are going to start looking into. And that's the reason why he's saying, so people who are aiming for this particular AWS associate architect, right? Your plan or basically your goal is to make sure how you are going to design the applications in terms of AWS. So all the underlying blocks are going to be taken from AWS. So how you use it for your application is what your goal is. Clear? So that's the reason why it says, you see, in order to crack this exam or in order to crack this job role, right? It says you need to understand global infrastructure. So AWS is special, guys. What they have data centers throughout the globe. You need to understand based upon the customer requirement, which data center will be feasible for you. So do you want to purchase the data centers within India, or you want to purchase them within US region, Europe region, right? You want to go with Australia. So based upon different what do you say, locations, you can go ahead and select the data centers. You'll understand once we go a little bit deep down there. But for time being, yes, AWS supports global level data centers. Ability to identify which AWS service meets the given technical requirements. A client came up like Hotstar. He said, right now, I'm not able to manage storage. It is getting a very hectic job for us. So we want some storage from AWS. We want to understand how the storage domain works within AWS. If I want to move some, 100 terabytes of storage into AWS, what would be the cost? And what would be the availability? If there is any kind of crash happens, so how much time it might take to recover from that crash? They'll come up with all those questions, and you people are the point of contact. And that makes sense once you understand the things. And also some new customer came up, he came up with some problem. He says like what? We want to implement some application which goes with something like virtual currency, cryptocurrency. And currently what, let's imagine there are some particular regulations in that country that you cannot host it there. So you want to host it in some data center and run the application. In that scenario, they might come with some kind of requirement and you need to address their requirements. Getting the point is, so you need to understand the technical requirement from the client and then start seeing which is a suitable solution on AWS. Clear? Yes, I hope you got the points. Similarly, hands-on experience with what? Compute, server management, network, storage, databases, like the 4 pillars of an application. So you need to have hands-on experience, like how you can launch the server, how you can create a network inside AWS, how you can go ahead and manage the storage inside AWS. You want to create databases, connect them with your applications. So all these particular things you need to have hands-on experience. And that's what we are going to see. You see, knowledge on recommended best practices for building secure applications. So once we go ahead and start deploying our application on cloud, right? So you need to make sure that firewalls are properly set up. There should not be any kind of data thefts or kind of easy access to the data. So there should be complete restrictions. You need to give permissions only who can access that particular data. You need to make sure this kind of best practices are implemented so that whatever the data is there inside your application should not be stolen or should not be hijacked, something like it, right? You see, lift and shift of existing applications to AWS. You already had some application and you want to basically go and migrate that entire app into AWS. So what are all the steps that you need to take care into consideration? Understanding of architectural principles. So how we are going to design and deploy highly available and fault tolerant systems. Don't worry these words, you'll understand, but they are saying this is like the criteria. So in order to go ahead and fulfill this job role, right? You need to have all this particular skill set with you. And also, what is the next thing? Estimating cost. So once the customer moves in, how much the cost would be there, right? Are there any kind of ways that we can minimize the cost of part? So you want some cost optimization. So these kind of techniques also you need to handle. So literally speaking, guys, these are the kind of things that your exam is going to be intended, and even when you are going for interviews and all this part, right, they expect you to have experience with all these things. So literally this is the role that you are going to do when you start working with respect to AWS architecture. So understanding the requirements in order to go ahead and exactly replicate the same thing from AWS, understanding their best practices, security measures, high availability, fault tolerance, scalability. There are like all these factors you need to consider out. So these all roles are basically these responsibilities that you perform, right? These are associate level architect roles, right? Good for people, anyone who wants to keep at least 1 year of experience on AWS, that you worked on AWS part, and this certification also says the same thing. So anyone who is taking this part, right, this is intended for people who are having at least 1 year of hands-on experience with AWS. So your goal is same thing. So in order to get some hands-on experience, we are going to have all the labs on this. So as you go and progress throughout the course, right, there will be different services that you'll touch base and have some hands-on experience with the same thing. So once you have all this, from the words point of view, this is how it looks. But you see, this is the actual role list. So when I'm taking the role called architect, right? Generally, let's say a building architect, what he does, he gives you the plan, he'll give the blueprint, so that on basis of that blueprint, you start doing the construction. Exactly same way, within AWS also it happens the same thing. You see, in AWS, as an architect, you will try to understand and analyze AWS services, which are building blocks. What are those building blocks? The right ones. S3, EC2, VPC, these are all building blocks. You analyze and understand those building blocks first. Then you put together those services to build your solution. That plus mark I kept, right? You combine all these services together, then build whatever the solution. Either it is Hotstar, Netflix, XYZ application, your choice. Getting the point is? So this is what exactly you need to do. You have been given raw material, put it in a proper approach, start constructing your building. Exactly same way, AWS has given you lots of services. EC2, S3, VPC, RDS, CloudWatch, SNS, SQS. There are different services given to you from AWS point of view. Understand and analyze them, understand their technical aspects, then put all those things together to build your application. That is what your role as an AWS architect over here is. So, and this is what you do at the end of the course. You will take a requirement from the client, you design this kind of solutions. And in order to do that, I just explained you in the previous slide set, you need to go through all these kind of things, guys. If you are aware of these particular aspects, then you are close to that particular fulfilling the role of what is a architect, which is basically taking an end-to-end application and deploying it on AWS. And we are going to do the same thing. So we already have some applications with us. Those applications, how you are going to completely deploy it on AWS using AWS services is your goal. And in order to do that, yes, we are going to start working with respect to these technical points one by one. Clear? Yes, I hope now you got what you're going into actually. So the goal of an AWS architect at the end of the day is simply understand the building blocks, put all those building blocks together and start constructing it. So building blocks will never change, guys. There is always EC2, S3, VPC, RDS, these things only. But how you change them according to the client criteria is what you need to understand. Right? So it does not mean that we will only host Hotstar application. Imagine there is some different application like what, let's say Covin application is there. Now you want to host it. Do you think there will be images, videos and all those things? No, right? It just has the customer and when he got vaccinated, that information might be stored, which is more of text related information. I don't need what you say terabytes of data, which I was seeing in the Hotstar application. So like this, you need to understand the requirement. On the basis of requirement, you need to start doing the construction. Clear, yes, everyone? Right. Okay. Let me get into the online as well. Yes. Okay. So yeah, just a second, guys. I'll unmute. You have your questions clear. Yes. Yeah. You can go ahead, guys. Any specific questions? Okay, we got one question. So what is the difference between an architect and developer? Name and role itself is saying you guys. So developer is the one who will develop the application with AWS, what do you say, constraints. Take the Hotstar application. Now we are saying the developed application, we are keeping it in AWS. But they are saying as an AWS developer, your role will be, you need to understand some technology, Node.js, Java, Python, some specific technology you need to already have in place. On top of it, you learn AWS services to do the development from the AWS point of view. It's not about design and what you say deploy. Architect role is completely designing and deployment. But whereas developer role basically suits more towards the development aspect. You are a Java developer. So you need to construct the applications from AWS point of view, and they will give you some, what do you say, SDKs. Like let's say you're a Java developer. How you go ahead and take the Oracle documentation and do the work, right? Exactly same way here also, they will give you the documentation. Let's imagine that as a Java developer, you want to consume the storage from AWS. So what happens is, you see, Amazon gives you those kind of, what do you say, APIs. You go there. You see, they will give you like all the options. Do you want to create, list, delete, storage? This piece of code is what basically does that work for you. From the developer point of view, you'll go ahead and start writing the code like this. In architect, you don't do any such thing. There is like no coding and all this part. This is more of design implementation. Clear? Yes, I hope you got the point there. We have one more question. Does Amazon has their own enterprise level operating systems on physical node? Yes, Gopi. So they have a concept called as AMIs. It's up to you. So it's like what you say, already pre-built things are there, or you can purchase from other vendors also. It's your choice. Yes, AWS does provide those kind of ability. Right? You see, let's now if I say something like create a server, it gives you a lot of variety of options. You want Red Hat Enterprise Linux, SUSE Linux, Ubuntu. You want to go with Windows, right? Something related to machine learning, deep learning. They have given you all the things out of the box. So there are some things are free, some things are what do you say, paid. So on that basis, you need to figure things out. Right? Yes.
Hi Ravi.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
So the solution architect role is going to be kind of temporary in a organization, right? The way you explain.
Uh, Temporary means everything is temporary, night, I can really say. So it's always replacement. Right?
Okay.
Why? Because let's say right now you're saying like temporary on the base of maybe one time, but it's not mandatory that Hotstar will always say stay exactly the same way. In the future, they might need new services. Let's imagine right now, Hotstar only supports payment just like debit cards and credit cards, correct? Imagine that cryptocurrency is completely, what do you say, standardized. Now, Hotstar wants to even give cryptocurrency based payments. Correct. Now, as an architect, you got new work. You need to figure out how this thing, how this technology works, how this can be implemented on AWS. It's a continuous process. As long as there are new features for your application, there is always need for architects to go and work with it.
Okay.
Right? Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
We have one more question.
So Ravi, this is Suyog here.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
as an architect, hi. So as an architect, our job is to design and provide the infrastructure to developer, is it?
Correct. Yes. So basically, companies, right? So imagine right now, what do you say? I'll just give you like how and where you guys fit actually means. Let's say there are like lots of what do you say? IT service providers, right? Let's say TCS, right? Let's say CST, let's say IBM, Accenture. So these guys need cloud engineers, are basically different roles. AWS developer, AWS architect, AWS administrator, right? They are going to hire them. And actually what they get the business from customers, like Hotstar is there right now. Now this guy wants to move into AWS. He'll not directly go and contact AWS, obviously. There are service providers. Like what TCS is saying, we provide cloud related service. Now Hotstar will visit him, and this company already has pool of resources. Like what you got your AWS developers, right? They have what do you say, AWS architect. Right. Now these guys will basically give and take the requirement from the clients on that basis. Okay, he will give the design, he will write the code, an administrator would deploy the things. Like this, there are different roles. Hope you got the points. So like this, every company
Yes.
right now needs cloud resources to go ahead and provide cloud related solutions.
Ravi, sorry, one more question on that. So AWS does provide multiple services, right?
Correct.
So all these services, I'm assuming they are probably in kind of equipped within itself. So let's say when we talk about security IAM service, right? You don't
Correct.
really need to worry about understanding all the concepts of security. AWS will provide everything on the GUI level, right?
It's not like that. So basically the agenda here is, they said like, we have given you the bits and pieces.
Okay.
You need to take them and start putting them together based upon what you want to achieve at the end of the day. Yes, on the high level, like what they have given you this base services, but it will not be same for every customer, right? Obviously.
Correct.
Those things you need to understand now.
Sure.
Right?
Thanks.
Yes, that is our goal, basically. Right? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Next question is, you can go ahead.
Does this course include a cloud practitioner essentials along with solution architecturing, or solution architecturing alone?
Alone, yes. I mean, like basically people who are not aware of the basics, I'm going to start a little bit basics as well. But you can say this is an associate, not the practitioner. Right? Yes. So we have one question. Where do we need scripting? Scripting is a different aspect, Kalyan. So imagine you want to go with automation, right? So let's say you are working into DevOps roles. their scripting is essential. So that's where you go ahead. And like I said, generally nowadays it's became a common thing. Along with cloud, you need to have some knowledge with respect to DevOps related tools. At that point of time, scripting might be a good add-on. Right? Yes. All right. Okay. Any other further questions, guys? Yep.
So in this class, we will also see at least one demo of on-premises application moving it to AWS cloud. Are we planning something like that?
Yes, kind of. So we have some services where I just take one virtual box, like not an kind of huge application, you can say, but a simple application which is there on your Hyper-V or VMware. And then we'll see like how the exact same thing needs to be constructed from the AWS point of view.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Clear this? Now I hope you are clear about the role actually, what this course is intended for and what your roles and responsibilities. That's the clarity first I want you to get ahead before you enroll the things and start with the partition, right? Yes. Okay, right. Any other questions from online guys? Yes, let me know.
I have one question, like, so do we get a chance to work on any projects along the hands-on?
Yes, you will be having one, final project. So it's like a typical thing. Like once you learn all the bits and pieces, right? Now you are already equipped with all the services from AWS. Then I'll become a customer for you. So I'll come up with some problem statement. I'll say, this is my application. These are the things that I want to achieve on AWS. This is what I want. I'll give that requirement and you guys should be able to get it done. I'll just show you like how it might look so that you'll also understand how the things move forward, right? So I'll just take one of my previous session docs and let me show you once.
Right.
Okay, this document might make sense.
That will be close to the real world scenario. Right?
Yes, correct. If you guys like this, you'll have your documents also. So moving forward, it's the same thing. You see, like, let's imagine that you are working with some specific service like CloudFormation. So I'll give some notes on that part, how it technically works and all that part. Then you'll be having your labs. Like this, like in order to implement, you need to write some piece of, instructions and the steps. Let's imagine you are going and working with your, IAM part. So I'll just have the lab on that part, like how you create, you go with that part, all the steps which are needed for setting up the things. So all the things will be in the exact same approach. You'll first learn the theoretical part of it, then you'll start implementing the lab on your own there. So like this, you learn all the things, and at the end, you see, some project will be given for you. You see, like from this project point of view, you see guys here, it says, as a customer, first I'll explain my product, how it works, what are its features. That application part, the code and everything also I'll give. And I'll say like that application needs what kind of technologies to work with. It says you need some PHP code base, some web servers, some database servers, right? And they will give you some run book, like how this entire application works actually, steps to go ahead and work with all those things. Then he says, so as an architect, I'll say, I want you to go ahead and start working with this app, right? So at that point of time, I said, I want the best security practices for my application architecture. So I want everything to be running in private subnets. My application servers, my database servers, right? And my service provider wants security from the administration perspective. So you need to figure out, okay, for this particular application, how everything can be kept in private so that no internet access can be given from the administration point of view. Similarly, though my database and application servers are in private, my clients wants to access the application and it should basically happen from outside world on internet basis. So how you are going to allow the customer to access the application without any kind of private access. Similarly, the application needs to have high availability. So it says at any point of time, I should not be having any downtime for my application. So how you are going to spread the application across different data centers? I want fault tolerance, meaning the ability to heal itself when things go wrong. If something is terminated, if there is an outage in the data center, it should automatically analyze it. You need monitoring skills. So when something goes wrong, let's say at 3 a.m. something went wrong, you cannot wake up at 3 a.m. and start setting up the thing. So there should be a self-healable system which will detect the downtime and automatically provision. Similarly, I need some scalability. If my CPU capacity goes beyond 80%, so I need some kind of instance to be up and running automatically. If there is not a lot of resource consumption, your CPU is below 10%. Why to have additional things? You want to get them back. So like this, you want to go ahead and have the things. So the end customer says, so all my resources which are required for this application should be coming from AWS. Now those products, once they are hosted on AWS, they should be secured, highly available, fault tolerant, and scalable. And then brief me about the charges on monthly basis, how much I need to incur the charges for this kind of infrastructure on AWS. So this would be the kind of things you should be equipped by the end of the course.
Good, thank you.
Right? Yes. So that's kind of.
So sir, if such kind of requirement comes as you explained nicely, so we as a solution architect, do you also have a sample? Let's say if this was the requirement, then what solution architect has designed and presented to customer? How it looks like? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
I think he is lost. We can hear you, Vishnu.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Just his connection.
Maybe. Yeah.
Hello, guys. We had some kind of disconnectivity here, it seems. Yeah.
Thank you. No problem, sir. So Ravi, we were just asking a question. The way like you explain entire requirement and need from the customer side for either database or storage or internet or intranet. So do you also have a kind of sample which we can look at it now? I mean, just to understand a little bit that how the solution architect finally will submit the proposal back to the customer if such kind of requirement is there.
Correct. Yes, we already have. So those are basically white papers, like I said, right? So there are certain white papers which are already there with us. I'm going to share them. Like in case the customer wants to have a entirely secured application, there are already white papers given from AWS. We are exactly going to follow the same thing and implement. So basically, those are the best practices given by AWS itself. We'll have like one specific document like that. Okay, in the case we want high availability, what are all the steps needs to be taken? AWS given accordingly, we will go and follow up the things actually.
Okay, and I think similar thing we are going to learn also in our further class also, right?
Exactly, yes. That's what we are going to. From the AWS point of view, what are all the best practices you need to implement in order to set up the app? Those are the step-by-step approach we are going to take.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Right? Yes.
Hi, Ravi. After this course, actually, can we go for the solution architect exam, or do you recommend like better to work like for 1 year? And
no. So what I basically say is exam is basically theoretical concepts actually, guys. Like this exam is completely on theoretical part, right? It's basically MCQs. The exam is all about MCQs. What I generally suggest is you go ahead and complete the part, right? Like you have some knowledge and all this part. Then at the end of the course, I'll be giving you some certification documents actually. Like what you say, exam dumps and some official documents given by AWS to crack this exam and all this part, right? So that I'll be giving you at the end of the course. Maybe it will take 2 months of preparation in order to complete. Why? Because it has like lots of theoretical aspects. Like you need to remember the thresholds. You need to remember certain use case scenarios, certain backdrops of all these services we are learning, right? I'll give those documents. You complete those docs and everything, you will be able to crack the exam.
okay, thank you.
So all the certifications are free, or business charges there?
No, of course it's not free. It's around $150.
Okay, for each certification.
Not this one, only 150. There are even $600, $800 certifications also in AWS. Professional, it will cost around $350, something like that. And then you got other levels of certification, which are little bit costly based on what you're going and working with.
Share the dumps in middle instead of waiting till completion of 2 months, so that we can go through the parallel.
I mean, like generally it is advised for us to give all these things once by the end of the course actually, and we'll follow the same procedure.
Okay.
Right? Yes.
So Ravi, also this cloud practitioner level trainings, if you want to go through them also, I mean in general Google, what would you recommend where we can do that?
Practitioner is like I suggest to go ahead directly with the AWS part itself actually. You know, AWS also provides you trainings on their portal, right? It is better you get equipped with that part, right? And I don't think you guys need to take the practitioner again because whatever we are learning in associate, right? It is already on one level top of practitioner actually.
Okay.
So if you are preparing for associate level, it's indirectly already complete the practitioner part as well.
Got it. Okay.
Right?
Yeah, so practitioner part is already there in free, I guess, on AWS website.
Correct. Yes, that's the reason why I said instead of investing money, you can directly get it free actually. Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. All right. Okay. Fine, yes, then I'll stop the session. If you got still any other queries, right, we can discuss it in the next class as well, right? Shalom. Right. I'm signing off, guys. Right. See you then. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.